All right. So after week 1, and I went 2 for 3 in my leagues, just for anybody wondering. I'm gonna do now that the waiver is gonna be open next week. These are my top waiver wire ads. Some of these are more relevant for PPR than they are for half PPR, but we're still guys worth keeping on your radar. So a couple of guys that I'm gonna name right out the gate that these are very obvious guys. One of them is J.K. Dobbins. Obviously, like J.K. Dobbins played outrageously well. I'm gonna pull it up really quick here. Box score. J.K. Dobbins had 10 carries, 135 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 3 receptions on 3 targets. He played exceptionally well, and looked far better than Gus Edwards did. I do. I think that they might still try to incorporate Gus Edwards, but they split almost 50-50. And if Dobbins can continue to have that type of a game, there's just no way that they're not going to just start to feed him the ball more. He was electric. He saw the field really well. He hit the holes really well. He was explosive. Sorry. Isaiah Likely, it would be the second one that is very obvious. He had a huge game. Let's pull up the Baltimore game quick here, just so I have the other stats that aren't right in front of me. Isaiah Likely had 12 targets, 9 catches. Now, I don't want people to panic on Mark Andrews quite yet, but this is concerning. Mark Andrews was out there a lot, but they didn't run as many double tight end sets as I would have expected them to. So Isaiah Likely, high target. He looked explosive. He was athletic. He easily, I think, could become the number 2 target behind Zay Flowers, who also got fed, had 10 targets. He looked incredible. Isaiah Likely, number 2. Adam. Even if it's a short-term thing, if you had David Njoku, or you have Mark Andrews, or there's one other tight end that went down this weekend that if you need a fill-in tight end, Likely. Go get him. Not too often do you get a tight end that comes up on the free agency market that is going to... I know a lot of people are going to say Dobbins is number 1. Isaiah Likely is easily my number 1 waiver ad this week, especially if you did not get a top-tier tight end, because not very likely do you get a tight end that all of a sudden is explosive and is seeing 12 targets a game. That is crazy amount of volume. Isaiah Likely, number 1 waiver pickup. Also coming out of Baltimore. If you're in a full PPR league, this really only affects if you're in a full PPR league. Justice Hill. Justice Hill, although obviously Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are going to be the runners, he only had 1 carry for 3 yards. But he had 8 targets. They threw the ball to him 8 times. He had 6 catches for 52 yards. That alone is 11 points in a PPR league. So if you were somebody who went with the 0 running back strategy and you just want an extra one to have as a fill-in, Justice Hill. Justice Hill in a full PPR league is worth an ad. Sorry. Next, we are going to jump over to the Detroit game because this is another guy. He's at the end here. This is another guy who... That's not what I want. I want the box score. Thank you. Jameson Williams is not, there are plenty of, I think I read about 50, he's only rostered in about 55% of leagues, which means 45% of the time he is not rostered. Jameson Williams, this is not that game. What are we doing here? Why did it pull that game up? Okay, my bad. All right, Jameson Williams looked incredible. Now, I don't want anybody to panic on Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra still got 6 targets. He had 3 catches. It wasn't his game. The Rams they locked him up. They just did. But Jameson Williams, because he had single coverage so often, he looked incredible. 9 targets, 5 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. This is what the Lions were looking for out of him last year. This is what everybody expected out of him. So he should not be unrostered. He is worth picking up. He is an easy flex. He is an easy wide receiver 2 right now, especially if you're in a 12-man league. All right. If you do not get Isaiah Likely and you happen to still be in trouble because of Njoku or let's even say Mark Andrews, because it looks a little sketchy for him at the moment. I don't want to full on panic, but it doesn't look amazing. Colby Parkinson out of the Rams looked great. 4 catches, 47 yards on 5 targets. Like, if you needed somebody, like, he definitely, especially if Puka is going to miss time, he looked great, as did Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson. Any one of those with Puka missing time is worth grabbing and adding if you need some depth at wide receiver. But more importantly, Colby Parkinson, if you need a tight end, if you have David Njoku and you're now week to week and worried that you might not have a guy, he was looked to a lot in like 3rd and 6, quick dump offs, quick out routes. He looked good. I would trust him to grab. I mean, in a half PPR league, he only scored 6 points, but not a lot of tight ends did well this week. So that was right in the range of being a top 10 tight end. So Colby Parkinson, worth grabbing if you cannot get your hands on Isaiah Likely. Let's jump over. This one, I didn't watch this game, but this guy put up incredible numbers, which was right here. But he also played a crappy team. Rashid Shaheed, 5 targets, 3, like, that dude broke down defense so quickly. Like, he got open so well. Scored the touchdown. This one, deeper leagues for sure. I would say for sure, at very least, what I would say is I would put him on my watch list because he did look really good, and made some explosive plays, which you aren't going to get a lot of down in the Saints. So Rashid Shaheed, if you're really in a bind, worth looking into. Next up, I want to talk about running back Tank Bigsby. He split carries with Travis Etienne, 50-50, and it looked like it was on purpose. It definitely looked like they are trying to maybe split, the rock quite a bit and maybe take some of the workload off Travis Etienne. That worries me a little bit. I love Travis Etienne, but last year Travis Etienne was a lot. He outsnapped Bigsby like 75-25, and now they are looking more at a 50-50 route, which can be. It could be a problem for people, like, especially because Etienne went like late 2nd, early 3rd round for a lot of people. So I mean, a lot of people reached up to get him. So the fact that he is now getting outsnapped is a little bit of a problem. So Tank Bigsby, especially if you have Travis Etienne, worth maybe looking into and grabbing. Next down the list, Alec Pierce. Now this one, I believe, this one is only relevant if Josh Downs stays down and out because like Indianapolis has a lot of they're loaded at wide receiver. Like Adidon Mitchell, Michael Pittman Jr., Alex Pierce, and then you bring back Josh Downs. Like, they're loaded. But Alec Pierce definitely looked like the deep threat when it came time for Richardson to air it out. And Richardson has an enormous arm. Huge. All right, let's grab. So, Alec Pierce, keep an eye on Josh Downs. Or, you know what? If Josh Downs is there and you can grab him and just stash him in an IR spot, also worth it. I believe he's questionable right now, so I don't know if you can put him in an IR spot, but like a week ago he was out, so you could. But also worth looking into. All right, next up, Alexander Mattison. I don't like this dude. I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. I'm not a fan of Alexander Mattison, but if you are in a full PPR league, not that he saw a ton of action, but he did see 6 targets. Like, he is definitely in there for the passing downs, which is pretty fucking concerning if you have Zamir White. Because Zamir White didn't look as great as I thought he was going to. So, keep a real eye on that. Like, Zamir White, man, he had 13 carries for 44 yards, but he only had 2 targets throwing. And most of the time, like I said, Alexander Mattison was in there on, like, long 3rd downs in the 2-minute drill. So it definitely looks like he might be the passing down back for them. And that being the case, in a PPR league, he is going to be an absolute monster. Lastly, This guy is wildly underrated, and I don't want you to look too far into this because this team has a fucking terrible quarterback. That's the New York Giants. Wan'Dale Robinson, if you have a full PPR league, that dude had 12 targets, 6 catches. Like, he scored like 11 points with not really being relevant in the game at all. But 12 targets, like, that is way too much. And I posted this on my Twitter that Wan'Dale Robinson and Alan Lazard, he is the last one that we will hop to, too, for the same exact reason. They saw so many fucking targets. And, Alan Lazard had 9 targets. That is a ton for somebody who I think is not great, but I understand he already has chemistry with Rodgers. And I didn't agree with at all how the Jets played that game. I don't like that they pulled Rodgers. I wish they would have they need reps with that dude. I know he's a veteran and stuff like that, but the team just needs chemistry all the way around with him. But Alan Lazard and Wan'Dale Robinson in a PPR league are completely relevant with the target share that they're getting. So just a quick recap. I'm going to just rattle off the names. If you guys hop to the end of the video just to see who this is. J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill, if you're in a full PPR league. Isaiah Likely, Tank Bigsby, especially if you have Travis Etienne, should be looked at rostered. Jamison Williams is 100% should be rostered. Raheed Shaheed should be watch list. Alec Pierce, watch list. Wan'Dale Robinson, Alan Lazard, if you are on full PPR leagues. Alexander Madison is, I would say, if you have room for him, pick him up, especially if you're in a full PPR league. It is just, those are my waiver wire ads. And coming out of this, also, I guess, if you need a QB, Baker Mayfield or Matthew Stafford. Both looked amazing. Both of them pretty much went undrafted, but either one of those is worth grabbing. One guy I forgot to mention, Colby Parkinson. He was also a waiver wire ad, especially if you can't get your hands on Isaiah Likely. So those are my waiver wire ads. Yes, I know this is a little bit of a sloppy video. This is kind of a first for me. I'm still trying to kind of figure out how the best format for this. I think next week maybe I'll just go through the games and just touch on who I would add. But those are my waiver wire ads for this week, and I will be back with you guys next Tuesday.